President Kalfayan, we're on the air.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February 22nd, 2021 Glendale Parks Recreation and Community Services Commission special meeting. Due to the evolving situation with COVID-19 and health recommendations from LA County Health Department, and the will be available to the public electronically. Due to social distancing requirements, the public will not be able to attend the meeting. This meeting can be viewed on local cable, Charter Cable Channel 6, and AT&T Channel 99. You may also stream online through our website, www.glendaleca.gov by scrolling all the way to the bottom and the web page and selecting live streaming, which is the third icon from the left. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Please don't call in advance of the agenda item. With this being said, may I have roll call, please?
Certainly. Commissioners Everly?
Present.
Hotel? Hotel? I think Steve Hotel is on mute. Commissioner Patel, can you hear me? Okay, Sardar Begian?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was late.
Here.
And President Kalfayan. Okay. The agenda for the February 22nd, 2021 special meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before February 16, 2021. Item 2 is upcoming council agenda item.
Thank you, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. This month we have 2 items. On March 2nd, we have a report regarding career services application approval for Workforce Investment Board. And our second item on March 2nd will be a report regarding our round 4 of Measure H funding for homeless services. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Next item is, thank you. Next item is item 3, commission staff comments.
President Kalfayan, President Kalfayan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. We would like to move things around the agenda. We ask that we move the reports for information only, item A, the brush clearance program, before the action item. Since we do have the fire department chief, Battalion Chief Ragusa, and we have a representative from the program that would like to make an oral report. Will that be okay, President Kalfayan?
President Kalfayan, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please? President Kalfayan, you are on mute. If you could unmute yourself, please. Should I move forward with the report?
That's a good question. I know it's out of order. I just want to know, are we Are we going to have time for commission and staff comments after the report on brush clearance?
Yes, we will take that item next,
Thank
and
you.
we'll continue in the order after this.
Thought that- I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, I'm no longer able to hear President Kalfayan. He is still on mute. Okay, President Kalfayan, if you can hear me, hit *6 to unmute. Okay, given the technical difficulties that we're having at this time, we would like to ask for a different commissioner to take over the meeting and preside over the meeting. Is there a nomination for someone to do so? You can nominate yourself as well.
I'll nominate myself. The only fly in the ointment is I don't seem to have a copy of the agenda, but I'll just rely on you, Iris, to guide me.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. May we proceed now with item 7A?
Please. Thank you.
Okay, that would be under reports for information only, brush clearance program. This is an oral report from the fire department.
Chief, you're on mute.
Hello?
Chief Ragusa, you're on mute.
Very sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Great. Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Ragusa. I am the fire marshal for the City of Glendale Fire Department. I also have Linda with me, who is a representative from Sage, who is our contractor that we will be working together along with Parks Department to bring a GOAT pilot to the City of Glendale this year. We have, the fire department has allocated a portion of our budget usually utilized for mechanical clearance of brush. We've picked two areas within the City of Glendale that can both be visible to the community as well as we believe will be effective by utilizing goats for brush clearance. Those two areas are Montrose Park, a 2-acre area, and Verdugo Park, which is a 7.9-acre area. I would like Linda to go ahead and take over from here and tell you a little bit about the advantage, we feel the advantage of utilizing goats within our community.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Fire Marshal. Our herd is managed by an environmental planner who owns our company. We're not just a group of herders. So she is very well versed in regulatory agency requirements. She's also a restoration ecologist, knows native plants and invasive weeds. Our herd is used a lot in defensible space. We have a little video that we put together showing the goats in the spring last year for a municipal contract where they cleared fields of mustard down to nothing. And they also worked in defensible space on the hillsides. The goats actually like the invasives more so than the natives. So we do prescribed grazing that is involving targeted, timed to the season, and we use the portable solar powered electric fences to manage the areas. As they complete one area, we move the fence. We also set up a pen operation with water, and the goats go inside the pen where they're safe at night. Each night, our herder handlers are out there every day. They clean the pens and they manage letting them into the proposed grazing area for the day. And there are 2 guard dogs with them at all time that guard against predators and bark at the homeless, that kind of thing. So we've had huge success with this. The issue is the mustard changes the chemistry of the soil, which makes it really difficult for the natives to emerge that are less fire prone. You know, as everyone knows, the mustard dries quickly in the season and it turns into really dangerous fire fuel. So we are talking with the fire marshal about doing 2 of the park areas as a pilot project, and we're really looking forward to working with you. I think if you have any questions, just let us know. We can run the video now. It just shows the goats in the fields of mustard. It shows them how quickly and orderly they get into the pen each night. And we have a few baby goats at the end. This is a field they cleared within a couple of weeks. It was 10 feet high. And you see their pen operation. The solar fencing is the little white mesh fence. Mustard is their absolute favorite. These are the guard dogs. They're Great Pyrenees. They also, as you saw, they trim up the lower branches of trees. Helps with the fuel load reduction. That's our herder. They're there into the pen, open the gate, and they just eagerly go in, orderly, happily. And they get supplemental food in there at night, because weeds really aren't enough for their diet. There's a couple of the babies that are about a week old right now. That one is newborn. And that's the end. We appreciate your chance to present today and looking forward to working with you on this pilot project. That's not us. We're Sage Environmental Group. That the video just kept going auto to the next one. And we call ourselves Sage Ranch for the goats, Sage Goat Grazing.
Are there any questions for myself or Linda?
I have a question. Oh,
Go ahead, Susan.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I'm so glad that you're doing this. I'm glad to see that you use solar fencing. I think it's awesome. And the only question I have is maybe a little bit of concern about the fact that we do have mountain lions in the area, and just want to make sure that I don't know if you've run into that before. So if you could.
Those 2 big dogs, they are 120 pounds each, and that is their job. They stay outside of the pen at night. They look like they're doing nothing in the daytime, just lounging around, sitting in the sun, but they're always watching. They don't stay inside the pen at night with the goats. They patrol the area. And during the day, they've gone around and laid their scent that helps the other predators understand this is the goats' territory and the dogs' territory. And they have, in the past, taken out a few coyotes. Mountain lion, I'm not really sure, but they can handle it. They are just as gentle and wonderful and sweet with the public. They're so fluffy and everybody wants to pet them and say hello, and they're very friendly. But when you get the predator near them, they go into action. The other cute black and white dog is actually the herder. He's a border collie, and he's the one that pushes the herd around.
To jump on your toes, Kate.
Yeah, they bark nicely at the homeless. We've had a few come up to the camper trailer and, beat beer bottles on the trailer and just do all kinds of crazy stuff, try to damage the fences. So the dogs go into action, bark them away. And we also always set up a relationship with the police department and the fire department for an emergency contact. Our handler that would stay overnight when that's on the contract has the number to call if there are any issues going on. And that one incident happened on a fire project in South Pasadena. And the patrol cars just started stopping by at night and sitting there, and they'd see them, and like the whole issue went away. They didn't have to chase anybody. It was just a presence. So they knew, don't mess with all this equipment that's around or the herd. So it's always worked out very nicely.
I was just curious, where is this happening in Verdugo Park? Is it a part of the park that's adjacent to where people are engaging in recreation? Because it would be great to put out some kind of information about the program.
Initially, we got a request from a homeowners association at the edge of the Verdugo Park, and we were working with them. We usually will set up a little table and offer water and some materials, and our staff is always there to answer questions and be real friendly. We also, before COVID, but now it's being able to loosen up a little bit, offer a kickoff event. And the city or the Parks Department has put announcements on their website and run it on their social media. The local residents absolutely adore what's going on. And we set up an outreach event where maybe it's a kickoff, and we bring all kinds of materials, stickers and crossword puzzles and coloring pages for the kids. And, we get a lot of positive interaction from that, where the neighbors are aware of what's going on and they become very supportive. So we're very open to doing that for a kickoff.
We, to expand on that, we clear about 30 acres of open space mechanically every year. We specifically chose Verdugo Park and Montrose Park for the accessibility of the community. Our ordinance will clear 100 feet from the structures, but the goats will be set up and housed closer to where the community, if COVID allows, and if our city is in a position where we can welcome that sort of thing, can be welcomed and be able to see what we're doing. That's a really big reason that we're doing this, so that we can educate the public and share what we're doing.
Yeah, if anybody wants to check us out, the goats have a Facebook page called Sage Goat Grazing, and it shows a lot of that interaction. And the city council coming out to visit the site, that type of thing. We're always really happy to coordinate.
Commissioner Everly, to address the question about the park itself, the intent is not to impact the developed park area at all. The intent, as the chief said, to work in the open space that is the western far end of the park near the trail, opposite side. Look for staging area over there to, again, not necessarily impact the park at all with the animals. And we'll work that through as we get closer to the date.
Yeah, what we generally do is the wildland areas, the slopes, the areas that are not where the playground equipment is. It's just totally different. Our goal is to get rid of that fuel load. And the advantage is the goats consume it. They take all of it back at the pen at night and poop it out. They digest it. And you're not mowing where you're laying down a plant that's going to reseed every year. We've done a project at Irvine Ranch Conservancy for the last few years where we're studying the data because we're doing habitat restoration. And after 2 seasons of grazing, he wanted it down to the dirt to really get precision about it. And after the second spring season graze, this whole area was covered by natives that emerged that hadn't had the chance to because they were overrun in the chemical imbalance in the soil and sucking up all the water for the mustard. The natives could return finally. And that was really a fantastic result. So we're finding the targeted and the timing takes away that seed base of the weeds. And then you don't have to be mowing it and laying it back down. So the seeds aren't viable when they pass through the system. They don't poop it out. None of the seeds that come out back in. We've done some little experiments of our own on that. Doesn't lay more seed down anyway. So I think it's all around a pretty good success.
I'd just like to say that I love this. I love that the city is doing this. I love the service that you're providing. I know of other people who've used this service, not necessarily yours, but used a service like this in other states for other property, and it's worked out really well. I'm very excited.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited too. It's just as fun to work with the animals and see the results, and it's just a win-win all around.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having us. Any other questions? I think we're still in the, get contract documents in place and pick a start date. So it'd be sometime between, with the mustard, we can do all the way up through the summer. They will even eat it dry. So we've got a nice window of time to work with.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before moving forward, I just wanted to announce that President Kalfine will not be rejoining the meeting today. So we will continue with Acting President Wilson. If I may go back to item 3, Commission staff comments.
Let me just ask if my fellow commissioners have comments.
I do. Although I will say my WebEx is lagging, so I don't know if my request will be thoroughly heard. We'll try. I have come across something that the county has put together identifying the amount of park space per capita in South Glendale in comparison to other parts of the county. And it looks like South Glendale per capita is something like, oh goodness, where is that document? No, it slipped. But it's something like 0.3 acres per 1,000 people versus what it is in other places, 3.3 acres per 1,000. So it looks like South Glendale, I'm doing that from memory because the document doesn't seem to be on my desktop anymore. But that being said, it seems like that's fairly low. And I know we've built a lot of new condominiums of late in South Glendale, and I would love to learn more about what the process is right now about acquiring new park space. Does the city currently have space that it already owns, like lots or such in South Glendale that could be looked at for building out new park space?
Commissioner Patel, you're right. Per the LA County Needs Assessment Study, the south side of Glendale, the acres per 1,000 is 0.3. When we did the Measure A study with LA County before the Measure A was passed, there was a study that was done by LA County, and Glendale was split between North and South Glendale. And that is, and I'll defer to Onig to answer your question specifically.
Thank you. So City Council this past year allocated $1 million in Measure S funds and directed staff to look into property down South Glendale. We do have some DIF funds. We're working with Community Development Department, actually our Economic Development Division, to see if there's any property in South Glendale that we can look at and purchase. We have looked at city-owned parking lots and other lots that the city owns, but those lots are being used for other things, such as the dealerships using parking lots and the parking structures to park their vehicles. But we are actively looking for properties. So we're going to go back to council with not a report, but as part of the budget study session, and let them know that we are looking, and if they were open to allocating additional funds. We are looking at Measure A funds, Prop 68 funds into new park development. If we have a property or a piece of land that we're interested in purchasing, our grant application would score much higher if we have a property in place that we can purchase. So we're looking at all avenues in terms of developing a new park in South Glendale. When we say South Glendale, south of the 134.
Right. I wonder if it makes sense to look at some of the city lots that we have currently and see if there's one in particular, if we're having trouble acquiring new property, if there's one lot in particular that might bring in less revenue, that might be considered as something that could be a potential park space. I say this because I think we've all discovered in the past year how vital our green space is, especially to those residents who don't have yards. Certainly South Glendale has a high amount of tenants as well as condominiums. And certainly we've built a lot more there of late, which has given us these Quimby funds. So I ask that we might think a little bit out of the box and maybe be willing to look at some of these lot lists that we have. I know they're being used currently by some of these dealerships, but I know those leases don't go on forever. And there may be one out of the list that might bring in less revenue than the rest. Another thought might be to look at the land that we currently have and see if there's a property next to it that might be able to be acquired, so that even if it's a small plot of land, if a piece next to it might be able to be acquired, making it a larger area. So those are just some ideas that I have, and I am hoping to hear more about how the acquirement or the future plans for expanding park property in Glendale goes, because I can tell you, we really need it. Being a resident of South Glendale, I can say that. My son and I have been very reliant on park space since COVID has happened, because we don't have a yard, and I know many, many, many other families have been in the same situation.
Absolutely. We'll work with our Public Works Department and Community Development Department to see if there's city-owned land that we can acquire, or see if we can develop some sort of open space.
That would be great. Is it possible to maybe even have a list of current lot space to be able to see that current lot space that we do have, that the city does currently have?
Once when we receive that list, I don't have a list on, we don't have one now on us, but we can go ahead and see what we have through the Public Works Department. Absolutely.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Any other commissioners? Kate?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Glendale Environmental Coalition for the letter that they sent to the commission. I thought it was really thoughtful and well researched, and I think it'll be really helpful as we continue this conversation about artificial turf versus grass. And I hope that, I assume that staff got the letter as well, and I hope that the report that's coming can sort of be in conversation with the letter that we received, so that we're all sort of working from the same set of facts.
Yes, Commissioner Eberly, members of the commission, we are working on a comprehensive report on natural turf versus artificial turf. We're going to present, the facts, and hopefully we'll submit the report in March. That's our goal for our March meeting, if not April. We are working with a number of cities in the state of California and researching the idea of both natural turf and artificial turf. And we can incorporate those comments that the Glendale Environmental Coalition addressed in their letter.
That would be great. Thank you.
Commissioner Sardibagian, do you have any comments?
You're on mute.
Okay, great. I was gonna say, I absolutely love that goat idea. I think having two kids, I think, first of all, I gotta, just the idea of us thinking outside the box and bringing animals in, it's awesome. I think that we could turn this into a nice field trip for all the elementary schools to kind of go see and, you know what, the goats grazing and all that stuff. I think it would be awesome. Along with that, Mr. Panosian, I love your background earlier with the goats. I was wondering why you possibly had goats in the background, and then I understood. So good job. But no, I have no other.
I'm just going to make a couple of comments. First of all, I want to jump on to the request for more park space in South Glendale. Absolutely. And I'm sure this has already been thought of, but maybe a realtor could help locate property to be acquired and turned into park space. I mean, it's been a long time goal of mine to see that happen. Second of all, I wanted to say just congratulations to the department for having the MPOD at the Civic Auditorium. I told a whole bunch of people about it, and hopefully past 3 days, and hopefully a lot of people got vaccinated. I also want to comment that I thought the letter from GEC was extremely well written and well thought out, and I'm looking forward to hearing the points addressed in it next month, hopefully. And finally, I just want to ask, I've noticed, because I live near Nibley Park, that the porta potty is still there. I'm wondering how that project is going.
Acting President Wilson, I should say, the project is complete and the request has put in to have the porta potties removed. We'll just double check to see if the vendor either missed that one or hasn't gotten to it yet. But we will report on the project in our report down the road on the agenda, and the project is complete and ready for open to the public as of 2 weeks ago.
Acting President Wolfson, members of the commission, few things, Acting President Wolfson. We are working with CDD, and we do have a brokerage, the city's brokerage, that is looking for property. We've met with them once, and they're actively looking. They're not asking around because when potential sellers find out that the city is looking for property, then all these requests and bids come in and prices seem to increase. So we are taking baby steps with the broker. That's one. And then in regards to our MPODs this weekend, we did have 300 vaccinations given on Saturday and 336 yesterday. And then we don't have the final numbers for today. We do hope to expand within the next week, depending on if Tri-State Clinics receives additional vaccines through the county. There are a few kinks that we like to work out with the clinic before we expand and give them additional dates for the use of the Civic Auditorium. But thanks to the hard work from CSP staff and the fire department and police department, I think it was a well-attended, I can't say event, but it was well-attended this past weekend. So we hope to expand within the next week and a half. And then when the protocols guidelines allow us to vaccinate the educators on March 1st, we'll reach out to Glendale Unified and the private schools and start vaccinating the educators.
Very much.
I'd like to say one more comment, if I may. I just want to thank you all for doing what I'm sure was a very long weekend, doing the MPODs, and is continuing today. And when I mentioned to you, and again an email, when I checked in about I think it was Saturday evening to see how the appointments were filling up, but I went to each web link for the various days. I only saw one open appointment, and it was on Monday. And that just filled my heart. And I know if you were to have another, even if it was just tier 1A, I know it would fill again. I think I got so many emails and text messages from people because I posted it a bunch of places that were just thrilled to get this news. So again, great work. I hope it can happen again. I know you don't necessarily have control of how quickly you get new doses, but I just want to let you know it felt really good to spread that news, and I just want to thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you. Yeah, we got the call Thursday morning. That wasn't me. We did get the call Thursday morning, and by Friday, 4 o'clock, we started posting it on social media, and it just went all around. You know, we had close to 50 shares with all of our, social media outlets, and I think it was very successful. Like I said earlier, couldn't have done it without the staff, parks staff, the fire department, and the police department. So thank you.
Next item, please.
Next on the agenda is item 4, oral communication. I don't see any callers at this time. Next is item 5, consent items. That A is approval of the minutes of the commission special meeting held on January 25th, 2021.
Does anyone have any corrections to those minutes? Does someone want to move?
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll take roll call. Commissioners Eberly,
Yes.
Patel,
Yes.
Ardarbegian,
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
thank you. Kalfayan is absent, and Acting President Wolfson.
Yes, thank you. Next item.
Thank you. Next is item 6, action items. At A is use of Measure A and Proposition 68 funds for the replacement of the playground equipment at Glen Oaks Park. At 1 is a motion recommending the Glendale City Council approve the conceptual plan drafted by Game Time, care of Great Western Recreation, a play court company, dispense with competitive bids, and authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Game Time for the purchase of the playground at Glen Oaks Park. Mr. Panelson, you are on mute. If you could unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Iris. Good afternoon again, Acting President and members of the Commission. I do have a presentation to share to make it easier for our viewing public to see what we're talking about. And if you will indulge me for 1 second, I will share that presentation. This is the one. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So, Glen Oaks Park. Glen Oaks Park is a neighborhood park, approximate size of 2.2 acres. And some of the amenities at that park include the community building, which is attached to the restroom, open to the public, tennis courts, and this is one of the tennis courts where we overlaid pickleball for the community, a half-court basketball court, a wading pool, a preschool age, which is children ages 2 to 5, as well as school age, which are children 5 to 12. Those 2 playgrounds. We have a sand volleyball court, a picnic tables all around the park, and then it is a very nice, passive, quiet, serene park. To give you the layout of the park, you may see over here in the far left corner, there are the tennis courts. Adjacent to it are the playgrounds. Just south of the playground, we have the half basketball court, as well as the volleyball sand court. Over here, on its own, to the right side is our wading pool, which is heavily used in the summer months for birthday parties and on the program, wading pool program, when that comes on board, and as well as the community building to the far left south corner of the area of the park. So the project background, about a year and a half ago, we had members of the Glendale Homeowner Association reach out to our commission as well as to the staff at parks, and they expressed some concern about the playground, the condition, the shade, necessity for shade for the area. And staff and commission at that point decided this is a challenge they will take on, and we committed to replacing the old playground. Because the existing playground at that site is very heavily used, and it is at minimum 13 years plus age. It has been installed since 2007, and it is due for a redo. So along with that, the department started looking at the designs and put together a funding request for council's consideration during the fiscal year 2020-21 budget process. And during the process, staff proposed to use $374,000 of Measure A funds, which is the LA County measure passed in 2016. We just talked about a couple of minutes ago, the county safe, clean neighborhood parks and beaches measure. City Council, through the budget process, approved this project on June 2nd, and that was the appropriation for it. And this project is consistent with Council's priority as well as our department goals of developing and maintaining sustainable facilities. Its goal is to enhance the quality of life for residents, provide safe, accessible, very active playground, as well as promote physical activity and fitness. So the scope of the project is to replace the existing playground with similar 2 to 5 year age and 5 to 12 year age appropriate apparatus. It will have a port in place called PIP. It's ADA accessible safety surfacing. It will incorporate the current sand volleyball area. I'll show you the actual aerial now to give you a better idea of what we're talking about yet again. This was also communicated to us by the members of the community. And the sand volleyball area is used on weekends, but not during the week. And its proximity to the play area, the balls flying, tends to be a question of safety, as well as just when you have sand, you tend to have domesticated wild animals do certain business that is hard to keep up with. So it is an ideal change to replace this with something more practical for the community to use. So for that area, we are proposing the installation of a dual Skyrun zip track. It essentially expands the play space by 1,800 square feet for a total of 7,785 square feet. playground. The community had wanted the shade structure, so this will have shade structure covering the playground. We'll make some site improvements, ADA improvements at the site in working with building and safety, whatever is necessary, as well as some other site improvements we're working with Public Works, such as maybe some fencing changes and walkways and pathways and some other minor adjustments we propose to make to that facility. And for the project scope of area, I know these questions that come up. It will only be affecting the playground and the current volleyball court area. And the idea would be is to connect these two as well at one point in time through the project by opening the fencing at the playground and making a one larger play space while maintaining at the same time a gap between these areas. It's turf currently. We'll figure out the best way to move forward to that regard. Here's a picture of the existing playground. We did mention that the playground was replaced 2007, 2008, but not both playgrounds were the same age. I believe one of the playgrounds was slightly older. I'm not able to dig up the records on that, but I do recall this was an existing portion of one of the playgrounds, and this, which is the other side, was installed in 2008. Hence, we are looking at a 13-year timeline for this overall playground being installed. And this is another view of the western side most playground. And here is the sand volleyball court area. You see its proximity. And this area, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor here. This is the area where we wish to connect the two play spaces. And the basketball court shall remain. The entire play space will keep its own size. If you notice here in the volleyball court, you see the concrete edging over here. We're going to maintain the same exact edging and utilize that same space without increasing it. And here's a different view looking at both the volleyball court and the play space. Here's a proposed playground layout. Now, with playground layout, every amenity of a playground has its required safety, fall zones, and area that it must be clear of any other apparatus. For example, if you're looking at this far left, which is the swing bays require a lot of space. They require 12 feet to the front, 12 feet to the back. Hence, there aren't any, we were not able to place any other piece of equipment within that area because it violates the safety zone. Whereas in the far right end of this picture, the larger structure, there are a lot of amenities combined within that structure, and some of those can overlap their fall zones because it's part of a larger structure. And each amenity having its own guidelines, it allows for a lot busier area. And over here is where the track slide is going to be in the south end of this picture. Here is a picture of a proposed playground. We worked with Game Time, as the report suggested, and we looked at a number of options before we narrowed down to the final, which was, I believe this was the 10th version of iteration working with Game Time. It has the two structures, the 5-12 and the 2-5. It has some climbing apparatus. It has some balancing apparatus. It has the slides. It has the swings, which we will show you. And as you note, all of these areas are covered with the shade structures based on the community's request. In this picture, you will see the tubular closed slide that is part of this structure. It actually has two. We'll show later on, we've heard some comments from the community in wanting, already requesting some changes, and we'll show those proposed changes as well as we move forward. Here is the 2-5 play structure, and this is just a different view of both structures. This is the swing bay. We have it for in the middle for tot lots, anybody that is 2 years and younger. And we have the regular size on the side. And over here is expression swing. This is like for either two individuals using it together. And we have the opportunity of mother and children to be able to use it together. These are very popular nowadays. And based on some comments we received, we'll show you what some of the changes we're going to make to this, to these items. This is the track slide. It'll run the exact same length as the existing volleyball sand court. It'll have two, so you can have competition or individuals just doing the track on their own. It is also, as you see, covered for shade. This is the entire playground design that we are proposing. So as we had received some questions and inquiries about what kind of accessible play amenities you're looking at incorporating, one of the things we're going to be doing is the entire area is already going to be accessible with the court in place. It is the most a suitable, accessible material for safety. And then we're going to look for putting some sensory panels around the perimeter of some of these areas. And sensory panels don't have fall zones because you can just walk up to it or get closer to it to be able to use. We're going to have a few of those installed. We want to change one of the swings to an expression adaptive tandem swing. It is the picture to the right. As you can see, an individual with a disability can be placed within the swing set. It is buckled down for safety, and the parent or the guardian or caretaker, brother, sibling, anybody can be sitting across, and they can actually swing together. So this is an adaptive tandem swing. Also, what we decided to look forward to is one of the tracks for the zip tracks. We're looking at an adaptive seat where, if you notice right over here in the blue, it is one where you can secure your child and be able to just push from one end and allow them to use the same exact track as a full able-bodied individual can. So other questions we received was, are the material recyclable? Is it environmentally friendly? Yes. Game Time, as a matter of fact, one of the first playground manufacturers that became a member of the U.S. Green Building Council, which is an organization dedicated to expanding sustainable building practices. Their goals are to address environmental concerns, and Game Time, through their partnerships, have done a great job over the past few years increasing their energy efficiency and reducing the waste. And their products are made significantly in high percentages by pre-consumer and post-consumer recycled materials. Post-consumer meaning a product, let's say plastic materials that were already used by consumers and being recycled, they're used for the making of this equipment. And pre-consumer, I had to ask the question what that meant. It's essentially if you have a manufacturer using the metals to make posts and they cut off certain portions of it for sizing or whatnot, the leftovers that they cannot use for anything, those are not necessarily used by a consumer, yet they are recycled products that are used to make the equipment. So we are very confident in the environmental approach taken by this vendor, Game Time, in producing their materials. So a couple of edits proposed by the community. One of them was, if you notice here, these are the two slides. It used to be both enclosed slides, tubular, and the larger structure. One of the requests was to consider one fully enclosed and one half enclosed, half open, which is what you see in this picture right over here. It made sense with this request, as the resident mentioned, some families just want to be able to see their kids slide down, and not all kids are the same ability, and some might get stuck, so easier for the parents to help get them out. And the second one, if you notice to the far left, they wanted some sort of, monkey bars for upper body strength in case to be able to just hold on and climb and cross over. So in this design for the elements, we were able to remove a couple of little characters and add the swing over to the side, not the swings, but the monkey bars. Another question that came up, were any trees going to be impacted? The answer is no. Lucky for us, the entire playground, there's only one tree, this theater that you see in the far left side of the park, of the play area. And the intent is to design it in a way where you just circulate this area and keep the tree outside of the play space. The rest of the area is open play. There are no trees. There won't be any impact to any trees within the area. Estimated project cost. So for the purchase, demo, and installation, the entire project's estimated cost, mind you, this will change based on feedback we receive from the community, based on how commission feels we should move forward. It is estimated at $572,000, of which we'll talk about the grant. We're applying for a grant that's going to be directly applied to the purchase. It's of $92,000. So total net cost is estimated about $480,000. We're adding 10% contingency for some of the site work we're going to do and the unexpected that comes up during construction, as well as soft costs for project management, plans, and the permits at about $28,000. So we are right now estimating this project cost to be $555,000. Now, another question that come up is, what do we do with the existing playground after we remove them? We talked to Game Time, and the approach they've always taken, and we've done in the past, is we recycle the material. A lot of the equipment is made of metal and plastic, and we work with our local recycling centers and take to them whatever it is that they will recycle, and whatever they don't accept as recycling, we do dispose of. And some of the commissioners may remember in the past when we've done these types of projects, the fiber, which is the current wood chip surfacing that we have, we recycle them. We use them as mulch in other facilities. So that is also our approach to make sure we absorb as much of that recyclable material and be able to recycle. Project funding. As we mentioned earlier, this is a proposed project to use Measure A funding in the amount of $374,000. And as you know, our estimated cost for the project, including everything, the soft cost, project management, whatnot, is roughly $555,000. So we're looking at applying for the Prop 68 grant application through Game Time. We've spoken to Game Time. We believe, and they believe strongly, that we meet the criteria for being awarded this grant. It is part of the Park Environment Water Act Bond Act in 2018. It was a statewide program, and through this process, we are anticipating about 75 to 100% matching funds of the purchase of the equipment. It doesn't go towards the labor and or the surfacing, but the equipment itself, which right now is estimated about $200,000. And our estimate for this, based on our conversations with Game Time, is that the grant, once applied, we're looking at likely receiving $92,000. That will reduce the cost of the project. And then we also have our city's playground replacement program, CIP budget. Whatever the balance of the project is, looking at applying those funds to complete it. Tentative project schedule. We're looking for direction and approval from Commission today to move forward, which is February. And depending on what direction we get, our ability to work with the purchasing department and how best to really approach the purchase process, the installation process, the labor that needs to be bid. So we'll work with them and take a report to the council, likely sometime April and May, all things being fair. And then construction document plan check. This is an area where we can have a lot of back and forth. Game Time, we're going to contract them to also design and develop the construction documents. And by the time we go through plan check and permits, we've given ourselves a little bit of room, given our experiences recently with COVID and staff's ability at building and safety to go through the permits, the plans, give us feedback, and we go back to our consultant and redraft things. So we're buying a little extra time there to be able to do those. But we know almost for certainty that manufacturing and shipping of the equipment, once it is all approved for permitted, ready to go, it takes about 4 to 7 weeks. Roughly about 4 to 6 weeks for the manufacturing and about a week for shipment. So we're looking at that timeline to be in November and December. And construction is roughly about 4 to 6 weeks, more like 4 to 5 for the playground, and then an extra week for the surfacing, the poured in place surfacing. And the anticipated timeline for that is December to January, and we should have this park open by February 1 of 2022. Now, this is we're approaching it from a conservative perspective, but it is highly likely that we can move the schedule up if other of the first few items move a little faster as far as, let's say, plan check and permitting. And then the anticipated next steps is to incorporate commissions and public input into our design, work with purchasing on the best model for a purchase order, and council approval on the purchase order installation contract, submittal of the application for the Prop 68 grant, which could come prior to or in conjunction of us working with some of these other line items. And then finalizing the construction documents, of course, demolition, recycling, and construction of the new playground. That is all that I have for this presentation. If commissioners have any questions that I could answer, I'd be happy to.
I have questions. I think it looks great, and I'm so excited about the zip line and just lots of elements of it. It looks just like a great structure. As a general question, I've noticed that we tend to keep the wading pools separate from the playgrounds. Why is that, and would you consider integrating a water feature into the new playground design?
Commissioner Evans, that is a very good question. One of the reasons why we try to keep the water separate, water play features separate from the actual playground, because water on the play apparatus is going to help deteriorate a lot faster. Water on the rubberized surfacing can help it, dry faster and crack. So we want to make sure we keep a bit of a distance between the two. And again, with this project, the intent was to not impact the park's overall layout. We definitely need to keep the wading pool. It is very popular with our children in the park, especially in the summer months when they're open. We want to maintain that as its own amenity and then focus on the play structures and based on the comment to remove the sand volleyball court, put something that is more useful for the entire community in the area and safer per se. So in the future, when we look at the, it's not part of this project, but in the future, if we look at the waiting pool for upgrades and the necessity to change things around, we'll consider how best it fits with the rest of the paradise and somewhat not close enough where people can be within the picnic area and be able to watch their kids on both if they have somebody in the waiting pool as well as the playground. So we will take that into account as we move forward.
Thank you. I think I've gone on the record many times as being in favor of large slides. I love that Fremont one, and but I also know that that has been a little bit of a problem in terms of maintenance and sort of a what's it called, attractive nuisance, maybe. And so I'm just wondering if there are any concerns along those lines for these slides.
These slides are not as tall as the Fremont ones, although they from the looks of it, they do seem structurally they're very sound. They're built, they're durable. So we're not. And they are also warranted if something does either break or give us any concern for cause for safety. We'll work with the manufacturer and get those items replaced. But yes, we did have a certain level of activity at Fremont Park in the past with the nuisance, as you referred to it. The Glen Oaks activity is not as large as we've experienced in Fremont. And if we do experience anything, we always work with our police department and trying to address the issues and concerns by way of additional patrols. And, we have our security company now, a new security company that they're blocking our facilities on more of a timely basis. So we will watch the activities and, adjust accordingly. But at this time, we're, I'm not going to say confident, we know that this is going to play out well for the community.
I think overall, it's really great that you guys are doing a lot to introduce more sort of like risky, they're probably not actually riskier, but activities and equipment that feels riskier, that is kind of more fun to play on. It all seems, all the different balance things and kinetic things, just I think kids really love them, and it feels like a big step up from the previous generation of playground equipment.
Yeah, and Commissioner Eberle, to that regard, I've been a certified inspector, probably about the last 15 years now. And there was a while where manufacturers were building the structure, they just prop the structure, but they didn't have a lot of ability for the kids to play and challenge themselves. And we've come a long way, learning from all the issues and challenges and the injuries that happen in playgrounds. Now, injury is part of play. And, what they've done this with the designs and especially with the surfacing, they've done it to minimize injuries to children if they do for any reason fall off a playground or do something. And that's our job to make sure we maintain that safety level. And hence the reason why, if you notice a lot of our projects, we've done the port in place because it is more safe for us to use. And one of the reasons why we believe it is safer based on experience, if you visit a playground that has the fly bar, kids tend to kick them around as they're running and moving. And sometimes it, shifts the balance of the level where it needs to be. And, we have staff that visit in the morning. If it happens in the afternoon and we're not there to be able to readjust, shovel it back where it's supposed to be, it could potentially be an issue for a child getting injured to a level that we don't anticipate. Hence, with these, every fall zone have additional layers of cushioning, the rubberized surfacing softer at the base, which is also recycled material, by the way. Recycled rubber they use for this base. It's a lot more efficient, lower cost approach that we've done. Because with a firebar on an annual basis, take a mid-sized park, a mid-sized playground costs about $6,000 to $7,000 on material alone annually. So, and port in place has a high initial cost, but for the extended time of the playground, 10, 12 years, it is a much better option to go forward with.
Thank you. I just have one other question, which is, are there other playgrounds that we're looking at replacing to take advantage of these grant funds?
Commissioner Eberle, yes. We're working on a playground over at Palanquoni Park. We're at the same stage with Palanquoni Park as well with Glen Oaks. We want to take the Glen Oaks one faster, earlier because of the Measure A funds that we're requesting, approved. The Palanquoni Playground is funded almost to its entirety by our CDBG funds. CDBG Commission has funded that playground. So we're looking at that option, how best to approach, again, the purchase process. We will come to the commission with that project in the next 2 months as well to get your feedback on the design and your approval to move forward to the council phase of the project. So yes, we're looking at that one. We're also looking at some possibilities of making some adjustments over at Car Park, looking at some options of maybe creating a smaller kids play space adjacent to what we have right now. That is in its very early stages. And I do believe the Pelham County Park as well is eligible for the grant funds, and we'll be working with Game Time to see if that also plays itself out, so we can, look at a hefty 50% reduction in the cost of the play equipment. It can go a long way in paying for project management costs, permits. So yes, we're definitely looking at that option as well.
Thank you.
I'm
President
sorry.
Wilson, if I may. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead, Onik.
No, I'm sorry. I'd also like to note that this is the same manufacturer that we used for Carr and Nibley. So the amenities that we have at both of those parks helps the kids with the development of their upper body strength, climbing, brachiating, bending, twisting. So just like how Coco had mentioned, we're not just plopping a playground and okay, go play. These amenities that we're putting or installing by Game Time have been proven scientifically that it assists in the development of kids 2 and up. So we really like the product that Game Time has offered at both Carr and Nibley. So that's why we're hoping to have the same vendor for Glen Oaks and Pelham-Coney.
President Pro Tem Wilson, I want to make you aware that we do have 2 members of the public on hold to speak on this item. It is your discretion if you want to continue with a discussion among the commissioners or if you want to take the callers first.
Why don't we take the callers first?
Okay. We have 2. One is a resident who did not provide a name, and the second is Audrey Sarukian. So I'll go ahead and put a number 1 on the air.
Thank you.
Yes, hello, caller number 1. You are on the air.
Hello.
Yes, welcome to the Parks Commission meeting. You are on the air. If you have a comment for the commission, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Am I on
if
now?
If you'd like to state your name for the record, you're welcome to.
Yes.
You're on.
My name is Jack Walworth. My family and I have lived in Glen Oaks Canyon for over 25 years. Thanks for your thorough presentation about the renovation in our neighborhood park. My daughter grew up playing in the park. We're thrilled to hear that the city is planning to overhaul the playground once again. And I'm very happy that you're taking into consideration recycling the old structure and using recycled materials for the new. But as many in our neighborhood have expressed, this is only part of what that is needed in the park. The plan for the playground looks great. However, the clubhouse is long overdue for a facelift, if not a complete makeover. I know this is outside of what is on the agenda here and what you're planning, and I appreciate that. But the building needs a serious paint job. The windows dressings are ancient. Serious trimming of the vines and other plants are long overdue, not to mention the seriously outdated lighting. Over the years, we've seen the neighborhood evolve. The new blood is coming in once again. We really deserve a sprucing up of this tired old structure. In all my years, I can't remember the last time anything has been done to it. And I think the playground's been redone several times in my time here. We hope you can find the time and the money to address these and bring the park into the 21st century. Thank you.
If I may respond, Acting Commissioner Wilson, to the resident who called, I'm sorry I did not catch your name, but those items you listed is also on our radar as when the community, the neighborhood, the homeowner association reached out to us. They listed a few other items. Some of it included some landscaping enhancements around the community building. They had listed the painting. So we're working with our public works, our friends in public works, and identifying these projects for future funding requests as well as upgrades. And we'll get them scheduled as soon as possible, getting in line with the other project that they have. But those are great points, especially with the lighting. I agree on the lighting. as we make progress in our other facilities, we are improving the lighting so people walking the park feel safer. While at the same time trying to keep a balance of the better lighting for individuals who live next door to a park tend to be a bit more problematic because now it's got a lot more lighting that they want. So that delicate balance we will work with. But yeah, those items we will list, and I'll talk to Mr. Lumanikian this week. We do have a meeting with our public works colleagues later this week on CIP, and we'll start talking about these as well.
Okay. Next caller.
Sure, the next caller is Audrey Sarukian. I will bring her up on the air. Ms. Sarukian, this is Iris. You are on the air with the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. I understand you have comments for item 6A. You can proceed. If you would please state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. Hi. My name is Audrey Zarokin, and I'm a Glen Oaks Canyon resident as well as a Glen Oaks Canyon HOA board member, commission, and staff. I'd like to thank you all for your attention to my initial request back in 2019 to upgrade Glen Oaks Park. I am so grateful that you've all worked hard to prioritize our park and have proposed an excellent plan for upgraded park equipment. I have to say that my kids and I especially love the way the zip lines and the tandem swings have been incorporated into the design. I am thankful to you for taking my suggestions into consideration. I love the new design, the slides, and that the upper body strengthening equipment has been added, the monkey bar type equipment. I do have one thing to say. I do hope that this project gets further prioritized and work starts as soon as possible because the park equipment has begun failing. Just a couple of months ago, one of the toddler swings broke while a toddler was still in it. I happened to be there when this happened, so I took photos, and I remembered that the city staff had told me to call the police department if it's after hours, so I did, and they came out immediately, and they tied it up so that no other child would sit in that toddler swing. And shortly thereafter, maybe a couple of weeks after that, I noticed that a chain-linked kids' ladder had been removed and the area had been roped off by the city because it too had broken. So just to be cautious of the equipment that is currently being either used a lot or perhaps breaking, it might be in the city's best interest to try and prioritize this project even more so. And to echo the sentiment of the caller just before me, I agree with him as well. The clubhouse does need to be updated, but I do realize it's a completely different agenda item, perhaps. And again, these are all my comments. Thank you so much for doing this. We're all so happy and so pleased that our much used and beloved Glen Oaks Park will get an upgrade. Thank you.
That was the last caller.
Okay. I think next would be Commissioner Potel, if she has any comments.
I do. And the notes from Commissioner Eberly and the phone calls have really been great. They've covered some of the things I was going to ask about, but I do have a few more. So bear with me. So someone who lives in the area, the Glen Oaks Park area, about a half mile away, I shared the plans with as well. And she had a note to say that she'd like to see if there was a way that there could be quieter spaces somewhere. Like the old plan, not that I'm a big proponent of plastic, but the old set has like an igloo with a little sort of hidden space underneath, and having some of these more enclosed, quieter spaces makes it easier for autistic kids or ones with sensory issues to feel like there's space for them. Again, I'm not a big proponent of plastic or adding more plastic, but and I'm certainly not a playground designer, but it might be something to consider if there's any modifications that can be done to provide maybe a quiet corner space. Some of the other notes that I got from the community, yes, the tube slide is a concern because kids do get jammed up in there. So I think it is good that maybe we don't have two of them. So that's great. That's been my experience too with my young child. Someone else mentioned, would we consider more pieces of equipment for those 8 to 12 to keep them active on the playground? The monkey bars are good, and there needs to be more challenging activities like that. Many kids are bored with the current space and climb trees instead, which is more of a hazard. I will say that it's true as you get to sort of the older ages of 11, 12, they may not be using the jungle gym quite as much in the design that it is now. But I would love if there's any way to incorporate this, more of a climbing space. Something like the old space, the old equipment had this large igloo. And again, I'm not a big proponent of plastic, but it also had like a smaller climbing wall at an angle. I'm just not seeing that in these plans, any sort of climbing activity beyond just getting up into the clubhouse area, which is great, you know, like stairs or maybe just some bars. But if there could be something that just allows a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it, but like climbing wall kind of activity. And then let's see. Okay, so someone else asked me, are there any plans to possibly think about adding more trees to the park? Now, I know this park pretty well. It's not necessarily near my house, but I've spent some time there, and I will say the summer months get brutally hot there. They really do. And when you're looking at these open slides in particular, you can't go down them in midday because they're just too hot, right? So I love the fact that you've incorporated these shades above the jungle gyms and play structures, because the slides really need the extra shade for sure to even get the use midday. Although I'm not a huge proponent of plastic, I can see where they are necessary if the trees do not provide adequate shade. That being said, if there could be some thought about future use and creating more shade in that jungle gym area, on the outlying areas of the jungle gym sort of designated space, so that in the future, when we have to look at maybe new plans to install jungle gyms, there'll be plenty of shade from ambient trees. And yeah, I think that's all of my input. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about this park. I cannot tell you. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Patel. To address, I want to make sure I captured it all. 8 to 12-year-olds to do more challenging, let's call it, more challenging play areas, more climbing. I do know the design actually currently has the rock wall that are climbing freestanding, and we'll see what else is possible for us to incorporate. Again, if you remember the beginning of the presentation, if we shift and move one thing, it could really mess with the rest of the design, the layout the way it is. So we have to be careful in what we're able to approach. But I know there's some climbing apparatus, and we'll look at it closely again if there's anything else can be done. The quieter enclosed space, one of the things I mentioned was like some of the sensory items or items that are freestanding that individuals can go more for accessibility issues they can be able to use. We'll look if there's something that has an enclosed space, maybe some educational stuff inside that we can incorporate in one of the ends that really plays with the design but doesn't change the overall layout. And then as far as trees go, we'll look at that option. The challenge with trees in this area is very narrow path between the two player areas. And trees, as you know, grow. And as they grow, their roots and their trunks are going to start taking up space. We want to make sure it's not going to interfere with the play by lifting and creating issues that might be of concern for safety of the users. However, we'll work with our forestry department and upcoming processes of tree planting and see what opportunities we have to plant additional trees in the park. And I agree with you. I mean, I know your stance on plastic. Unfortunately, the playground equipment, it's either metal posts and plastic Or if you remember when we were of age and we used them, the slides even were metal, and there any one of us get on those slides. And it doesn't matter what time of summer, we had all types of burns. That's why manufacturers have looked at all safety issues and problems they face and designed these to be the safest possible. And so, yeah, your points are well taken. And to Ms. Zarukian's point of prioritizing, yes, this is a priority for us. You saw the schedule. We're hoping to expedite the process as best as we can. Yet this project, once we pass to the commission, we're looking at making it a priority. I'll be working directly with the project manager to get get this moving as fast as possible. So it's a priority for us as well.
Thank you so much for addressing all that. One last, yeah, thank you. One last thing I just remembered I wanted to ask you. The rubberized flooring that's going to be used, that is wheelchair accessible, correct?
Yes, it is the most wheelchair accessible surfacing that we can have, given that it will be flush with your walkways and pathways, and it is firm, yet it is firm but soft in the areas where the fall zones are. So it is designed specifically for ADA wheelchair accessibility. We just ask viewers and parents to, if they are wearing heels, please stay off the surfacing because you can actually puncture holes in them. Jesus, man. But yes, it is designed for, it's specifically designed for ADA accessibility in wheelchairs to be able to smoothly maneuver around the play area and get to the next appearance.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Sardar-Begin, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Penosi. So first and foremost, I know that on the Game Times website, they actually have like a multi-goal backboard basketball set specifically designed for younger kids. I know a lot of times what happens is with, and this is, I guess, my background in basketball and having coached at Hoover and all that stuff in the past. So getting kids started in soccer and some of the other sports is very easy because those games are so simplified, and generally speaking, you don't need equipment that's very specialized for younger kids. When it comes to basketball, a lot of kids get discouraged from playing basketball and being involved with basketball just because of the basketball the height being at 10 feet, and short of us having to install one of those backboards that comes down. But the problem with those are that then you turn that area into 18 and 16 and 20-year-olds even coming out there and playing dunk ball, lowering the court and just dunking. So what I noticed on their website is they have like this cool backboard and rim set. So what I was, I guess, going to ask you if there's any way to incorporate something like that, and even possibly just kind of looking at the overview of the park and having visited the park when my kids were a little bit younger, if there's any way to even push back the basketball court further towards like the walkway that attaches to the tennis courts, and having something like this incorporated into the playground area, if that's feasible, and if that's something, because I think then it would provide kids anywhere from the age of 2 up to about 7, 8, 10 years old with an alternative play area. Plus, they could just shoot the ball and feel excited that they're playing basketball.
Commissioner Sardar-Begin, we will evaluate the request. We've not had that level of activity like the basketball set within actual play area, just because it's a little more physical basketball playing and moving around and shooting to avoid other individuals or kids getting injured. However, it's not something we've considered before. Your idea about the existing basketball court area maybe incorporating it, maybe if not now in the future, to make it more active, more for children's area. It's something we can talk about with Mr. Bulanikian and see how, if we come up with some plans for the future. With the current layout, what you're proposing is probably going to remove a big portion of the appearance that is already there. That activity is going to require moving around, and with, again, the layouts and the fall zones that are required for what we have, it may not go very well for this. However, what you're proposing is something, at conferences that I've gone, there are areas where it's a very active play space that manufacturers have designed, anywhere from, hockey and or basketball or soccer, all incorporated into one play space. That is a very active play space. Unlike a playground, that's something we can consider for future facilities, if not for this one, given its location and the green space we want to preserve, being mindful of the neighbors wanting to have green space. So it is something we'll put on our list of things to look forward to and look for an ideal opportunity to see if we can incorporate what you're proposing, if not at this park, maybe at an alternate park.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much. Makes sense.
My apologies if that doesn't address the question, but this particular process for the playground and what you're proposing, I think they're two separate. And I think we should look at that very active, physically trying to get kids to be more athletic and the sports liking and playing sports is something we will talk with our recreation folks and our director to come up with some ideas for other sites maybe that can we can work this in.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask, I think I heard during the presentation that you said that the existing playground equipment will be recycled. And in the past, you alluded to, we used to talk about donating the equipment that we were discarding rather than just destroying it. So please, I'm sorry, there was during the presentation, I was trying to move around and listen. And I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, that we are going to be recycling or reusing somehow the old equipment. Is that correct?
Yes, Acting President Wilson, we will be recycling the equipment. Given their condition that they're starting to already deteriorate, it's not something that we would want to donate to another organization, agency, that for them to be able to spend all the monies to have it installed. Hence, with this playground at least, we have decided it is best to recycle the material, the plastic and the metal, and of course, the fiber for like mulch, use of mulch in our planters, could be at that park, could be other parks. So we're going with the option of recycling at this time. We have considered at other facilities donating playgrounds. It has become one that's been evaluated. And if there were any opportunities, we will consider those again in the future. But for this particular operation, we think it's best if we recycle the material.
Thank you. Yes, I agree, especially given what we heard on from Audrey on her phone call about pieces breaking off and so forth. The other question I had, I think the playground looks great. I agree that the clubhouse needs a facelift, and we know that, and hopefully that can be, and fast track this as much as possible. And I noticed there was a little bit of, a fudge factor in your timeline, so maybe we can get it opened up sooner. The other question I had, and don't want to slow it down at all, but I noticed we said we're dispensing with competitive bids, and I just wanted to ask about that, like what's the mechanism and how, why and so forth. Thank you.
Yeah, Acting President Wilson, that is a very good question, because it seems like dispense competitive bidding is an action only council can take. And the reason why we're approaching this purchase with that method is, if we design a playground with this manufacturer, essentially they're the only ones going to be able to manufacture, because they're the ones who laid it out and designed it for us. Hence the need to, when it comes to playground purchasing, you design the playground and you say, this is the vendor we want to go with, let's buy this product after we go through all the design elements and make the changes necessary. Now, where is a little different is, we've done in the past, for example, with Carr and Nibley, when we did those two projects, again through Game Time, and they are national demonstration sites, as Mr. Bonico was suggesting. On those, we also had the opportunity for co-op purchasing power, and we used U.S. communities that we are a member of to be able to purchase and install. So that is another mechanism that we're able to use. In talking to our purchasing department, I believe they would feel more comfortable as the installation portion of this had a few additional bids and not necessarily through the U.S. communities. Hence, I didn't have any numbers on what the purchasing process is going to be, what's the best approach. We will talk to them and say, okay, the playground we're going to purchase by dispensing competitive bidding. As it relates to the actual installation, the labor portion, how do you foresee us moving forward so we can have some sort of a competitive process for the labor and installation? We believe the numbers we receive are very, very conservative, and we believe it's going to be a very a solid numbers for the installation. Again, however, we're going to go through those steps. But for this reason, the reason we're asking for the special competitive bidding, because this is exactly what we want. And competitive bidding can open up for somebody else wanting to sell you a different playground that may not fit the design and layout we have set up. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, that answered my question. And just one final comment. I want to say how glad I am to know that the two parks, Pelanconi and Carr, are also under consideration for upgrades or new equipment. I'm glad to know that. So with that, I think, do we need to vote on this? Is that correct?
Yes, Acting President Wilson, we do have a motion asking Commission to help us with the motion by recommending the City Council, approve the conceptual plan. Of course, amended conceptual plan based on the comments we received, the feedback from Commission to incorporate in the final design, and then to dispense with competitive bids and authorize the issuance. And I think Iris can read the motion, clarify the motion for the Commission for their approval.
Thank you. Iris, would you?
Yes, absolutely. It's that the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission recommends that the Glendale City Council approve the conceptual plans drafted by Game Time, care of Great Western Recreation, a Playcore company, dispense with competitive bids, and authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Game Time for the purchase of the playground at Glen Oaks Park.
Okay, would somebody please make a motion, or do we need to? I'm confused.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, President Pro Tem Wilson and members of the Commission, we do need a motion and a second, and then I'll take roll call.
Can I get a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
You're on mute.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Commissioners Eberly?
Yes.
Hotel?
Yes.
Sagarbegian?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalfayan is absent. President Pro Tem Wilson?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 7, reports for information only. At B is Workforce Development Section Activity Report.
Good afternoon, President Pro Tem Wilson, members of the Commission. My name is Judith Velasco. I am the Workforce Administrator. Our section is primarily responsible for all the federal workforce dollars that we receive through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act of 2014. We operate the majority of our services out of our location in Glendale, 1255 South Central Avenue in South Glendale. We are currently providing services virtually to anybody who is interested in employment services and training services for both youth and adults. The majority of my report, I speak about federal requirements that we're accountable for because we do receive federal funds. There are various requirements that we have to meet on an annual basis, every other year and 3 years. So there's 4 requirements that I mentioned specifically. The first one is the Career Services application. We currently have to submit an application to the Governor of California so we can continue to provide services out of our location in Glendale. Our application was submitted 3 years ago and it was approved, and we are confident it will be approved this time around. It basically outlines and describes how we deliver our services in the community, the type of services we provide, as well as our expertise in providing employment and training services. For clarification, if we do not submit an application, we then have to do a competitive bid and have an outside agency deliver workforce services in our region. The second item I speak about is our local plan. Every region that receives workforce dollars has to have a local plan. that outlines how we provide services to vulnerable populations. And these are populations that historically have high levels of unemployment, people with disabilities, English language learners, homeless individuals, just to name a few. We hope to release our plan very shortly, and it's going to be out for public comment for at least a period of 30 days. So as soon as the plan is released, we will post that on social media and hope to receive public comment on how we plan to develop career pathways for these populations. Again, the third requirement I speak about is our board certification. We have a board of directors comprised mostly of business as well as labor and education. This board has to be certified every 3 years. There are specific requirements as indicated in our federal law. We have to have at least 51% of the board consist of business, 20% of labor, and then we have another category of education and economic development. So we have a pretty diverse board of all these entities that come together and discuss the best training programs, career pathways that we can deliver to the public. And it's really due to our board members that we know of innovative growth careers that are happening before they happen. So it's been a very good and powerful thing that we have the board that enables us to create meaningful training programs. And the last requirement is AJCC certification. AJCC stands for America's Job Centers of California. It's actually a branding term used in California to distinguish employment centers. So we do have the center in Glendale, but there are employment centers all over California and all over the United States of America. So we have to make sure our employment centers meet basic certification eligibility, which is a comprehensive review of how we deliver services, an assessment of the quality of those services, staff knowledge of those services. So we have to submit the certification process again every 3 years. So our staff is busy working on these 4 compliance matters that are due in the next 30 days, 60 days. They're very comprehensive matters that we have taken seriously, and we hope to complete by the deadline. In addition to this, we continue to deliver employment and career services. I do speak about some new programs that we have coming. We received a grant from the Employment Development Department, which is the state department, for $650,000. And this is to work specifically in the bioscience industry. It's an entry-level career pathway for individuals interested in bioscience careers. So we're working closely with Glendale Community College, LA Valley College, and bioscience company like Grifols Biologicals to make sure that the community has access and the opportunity to enroll in these training programs if they're interested. Our section is also in charge of managing the city's funded Measure S LifeWrap program, which is a low-income family employment rental assistance program. It's basically an affordable housing program designed to provide housing subsidies as well as employment assistance to low-income families for a 12-month period. We just opened the application period for this program. It started last week, February 18th, and will run through March 12th. It is on our City of Glendale's website as well as our Community Services and Parks social media accounts and websites. So really the goal of this program is to help families who are low-income working families, to help them facilitate their income progression through improving their education and employment skill sets through training programs and employment opportunities that they are able to access through our center. And lastly, I want to speak about some youth employment programs handled by the Glendale Youth Alliance, also under our section. Starting March 1st, they will be accepting applications for their summer program. So their summer program is funded through Los Angeles County Department of Workforce, Aging, and Community Service. Youth are eligible to participate if they meet specific criteria, primarily if they're low income, probation, and foster youth, just to name a few. But we encourage all youth to apply who are interested in working this summer, because GYA administers various summer programs, not just programs funded by LA County. So, for instance, they're actively recruiting for their program that serves youth ages 18 to 24 who are not in school, but they're assisting these youth not in school be connected to education opportunities and permanent employment. So that is my report for today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do my fellow commissioners have any questions?
I'm just curious whether you work at all with GUSD, because I know they have, what are they calling, like CTE pathways, and it seems like it might work well with your new bioscience grant.
Yes, we have an excellent relationship, Commissioner Everly. We have an excellent relationship with Glendale Glendale Unified School District. We work with their CTE coordinator in referring our students to their pathways, and also them referring their students who are seniors or about to graduate into our programs. So yes, we work closely with them to ensure that they have access to this information as well.
Thank you.
Any further questions from Commissioner Potel or Sardar Begin?
I just want to say, I think it's wonderful that you're finding new avenues of employment, and people are really, they're going to need it. They probably need it now. So I'm just happy to see that you're hard at work trying to find new solutions.
Thank you so much.
If there aren't any other comments from my other commissioners, I just want to thank you so much for the work that you do. I've been watching it now for several years, and I really appreciate it. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Next item, please.
Sure. Next item is 7C Park Services Section Monthly Activity Report for January 2021. Mr. Panosin, you are on mute.
Yeah, I surely was. Thank you, Iris. Good afternoon again, President Potel, Wolfson, members of the Commission. The monthly activity report for January, the Cruise Park Services section completed 688 work orders, of which groundskeepers completed 662, irrigation repair crew completed 22, and 4 pesticide application work orders are completed, for a total labor hours of 1,269 hours. And we do have a couple of items we'd like to share with you as the project's a more pictorial view of what we have done. If this thing starts sharing, can you see this clearly now? My screen?
It is visible, yes.
Great, thank you. If the commissioners should remember, a couple of months back, we came to you and we informed you about the community gardens. You allowed us to adopt a new policy, rules and regulations. And during that process, we mentioned that we will be starting the demolition process at Verdugo Park. And about a couple of years, we've been talking about the Verdugo Park community garden and the need for it to be demoed. It was part of the master plan for Verdugo Park's master plan that we were planning. And we are at a point where we were looking at doing this internally in-house by separating it from the project, because as of now, with council's direction, we're going to be going back to the drawing board with some of the items we've been talking over the past couple of years. But as far as the community garden at Verdugo Park, if you can see from this picture, it is a 15,520 square feet of space that was dedicated to the existing community garden. This was the layout. We talked about this being an issue. It was an issue over at Palmer. If you notice, they are not same size. They're designed very inefficiently. That some individuals had a much larger space, others had smaller space, and it allowed for individuals to do things that are not approved for community garden use, such as building structures. Some of these you've seen, these are 2 to 3 years old. These were the structures that existed, and obviously they're not permitted, they're not approved, yet individuals who had these plots over the years just brought in whatever materials they had from home, constructed it to keep their areas secure. Now, over the past couple of years, it has become more of a safety issue. Individuals sleep in there, they start little fires. For those reasons, we had informed Commission that this area we're going to clean out and redesign it, the community garden, to look very similar to what we have over at Palmer Park. Open boxes on the floor. So as we go through this, we're going to show you the first step of the project that we completed this past month, which was the demolition. You'd be surprised. We hauled over 120 tons of debris from this small 15,000 square feet site. We had 2 tractors, backhoe going all at the same time, and everything was demolished, put away in the dumpsters. And I think we had about 8 hauls to be able to complete all of the debris that was removed. The goal was to get the area leveled and cleaned out to allow for the fencing, the new decomposed granite, and the construction of the boxes. Anything you could imagine, you could find at this community garden. Anywhere from tables to bedding to propane, just ask for it, it was there. We knew it was a safety hazard. We were not operating it for the past 2 years. The gardeners who were active, we had, I believe, up to 6 left that were active at the site. They were informed a couple of years ago for them to come and take their personal belongings, so knowing this was going to be the next phase of the project. And again, you can see the perimeter fencing even. Everyone brought whatever material they had at home, leftovers, and constructed their own fencing. And here's the area once it was cleared out. In this picture, you still see the perimeter fencing of the community garden. You will soon see the fencing that was come down. This is a picture of the fencing that came down. We preserved all of the trees that were outside of the community garden. There were some trees the community gardeners had planted, some fruit trees that had died over the past 2 years. Those were removed. Well, once we open it up, as you notice, now you can see the serene beauty of just the sheer, the oaks and the sycamores, especially the one that has a beautiful lean towards the community garden area. This is the area now completely removed of all of the existing material. We fenced it off to separate it from the yard. What you see in this zone, this is our corporation yard, the Google's yard, that operates the northern section of the city, and we have about 22 parks that are managed from this yard operation. On the other side, you see we've already started fencing it off, and we've covered it with the construction fencing and the plots, so keeps this area clear for our guys to go in and finish the job. And we started laying out the pipes to install the spigots. And as a matter of fact, I was told today that all 8 spigots designed for this have been installed. And what you see, the little pink flags, those are the locations laid out for the boxes, how they're going to be laid out. Of course, keeping in mind ADA accessibility, it's going to be fenced from both sides to have easy access to it for all members who are part of the group. As you know, the 36 spots we used to have at this site, this goal with this developed plan, we're going to increase it to 50. And at the same time, we're going to be freeing up about 7,000 square feet of open space, giving it back to the park as just natural, serene, open turf for the community. Again, this is a question. This is a picture of the irrigation laid out. This is an earlier picture. Today, all the spigots are in. We'll show you progress every month as we go forward. The next stop, we're working on a requisition to purchase the material. Imagine with 50 boxes, there are a lot of wood. We're working with purchasing department to place the order for that. Looking at the perimeter border, the DG, and then fencing. We're going to RFP out a fencing company to come and do the installation for us. At Montrose Park, the playground, just to give you an example, a quick look at what it really takes to supplement the FIBAR at these playgrounds. This was just a layer that we had to add to it. Required about 4 or 5 individuals working about half day to the full day, number of trucks and trailers to be able to get it all hauled away. So it is in its own a project, but it is necessary annual basis. We look for the lower areas and bring in additional FIBAR to make the area safe for our community to use. This project was at Montrose. And again, you see we've concentrated on all the fall zones where the most of the activity is going to be to fluff them up to the level required, anywhere from 9 to 12 inches in some cases of raw material that needs to be. And then we had another one over at Lower Shoal Canyon Park. I'll be talking about the showing playground as well as the restrooms that were opened up. Similarly at Lower Shoal Canyon, this was reopening it back up to the community. We kept the playgrounds closed during the construction of the restrooms, and they are open now when the restrooms opened up towards the end of last month. Here again is a load of the FIBAR that was dropped and spread. This is the upper area. It has upper and lower, upper being 5 to 12, lower being 2 to 5-year-old in the same location, adjacent to each other. And here is a 2 to 5, very close by and adjacent to a picnic shelter at Lower Shoal Canyon Park, if you're familiar with that. So the project that Commissioner Wolfson asked about earlier is the restroom projects at Nibley, and these two projects were going concurrently, Lower Shoal and Nibley. We did improvements at the Lower Shoal restroom and the picnic shelters, as well as brand new picnic tables, new sinks, new barbecues for the community at this park. Some of the features that were done for the restroom upgrades are new plumbing, new fixtures for both restrooms, and make it more a more efficient use of the, let's say, the blow dryer for your hands, the lighting improvements, plumbing improvements, overall for security inside and outside. And of course, all the partitions are new. The floor being concrete, we did not touch it, and the walls were in reasonably good shape, so we did not change the wall. I'm looking forward, it's skipping right now. The tiles, we did not change the tiles because they were in decent condition, and we figure we can preserve as they are for the future, and save some money from the project and use it at alternate sites. And here is the picture of the new sink, the new barbecue area, the new picnic shelters. The shelters themselves, the wood was touched up, repaired, and painted, as well as the poles. And there were about 30 plus, I think 33 to 35 new picnic tables, ADA accessible picnic tables, concrete tables that were brought in. For each shelter, split, I think about a dozen or so for each one. And each shelter can be reserved once we open for reservations, hoping in the summertime when COVID is over. And here's a nice shot of the entire area. Now, we pressure washed this area as well. I'm not sure if this picture is before or after the pressure washing, and the area is looking very ready for the community to come and use. Similarly at Nibley Park, we did the restrooms at Nibley Park. Nibley Park also had, this one had, in addition to the plumbing, electrical, and the fixtures, we also did repairs of the roof at the Nibley Park. Structurally, it was great. However, interior had to be some walls removed to make it more ADA accessible, because just the sheer size inside, the maneuverability wasn't there. So these restrooms are now ADA accessible, both men's and women's. And the light is off, I realize in this picture. They had just washed it, cleaned it for the pictures, partitions, and new fixtures, as well as electrical upgrades for this facility at Nibley Park. Now I want to share with you some vandalism, graffiti that we experienced just this weekend. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, a number of parks were vandalized. And in sharing with the community, we asked everyone to please use the parks as they're intended and keep them graffiti and vandalism free. At Montrose Park, I cannot even show you what is written on these picnic tables because they're just not appropriate. We had all of the picnic tables in the northern section, north of the playground, graffitied all over. And our staff got out there today. They removed whatever they're able to remove, and then some of those picnic tables had to be painted over because it would have come off. And some of the commissioners might remember these picnic tables are about a year, maybe a year and a half old. These were installed brand new, part of our improvement process for picnic shelters in this park. This was in the parking lot. This happened last night to this morning because it wasn't part of the weekend report, yet it was again inappropriate, and staff got onto it right away to remove it. Similarly, Griffith at Cerritos Park, this was the restroom. Partitions get tagged a lot. This was removed immediately by the weekend crews. Similarly, other partitions, the doors coming in. We had the same thing at the restrooms at Fremont Park, graffiti near the ceiling over here. Staff removed the same day. Maple Park, hold on to your seats. This one is pretty bad, pretty rough. Inside both restrooms, we were tagged heavily at Maple Park. And we are working with our police department and the supervisor at Maple Park, Kenneth. I think I might have skipped a picture to the slowing down, apologies. In looking at the video cameras to look for possible suspects of individuals who may have done this, and with the help of our police department, we're hoping to locate and identify these individuals and have them pay the price for the tagging. And it wasn't just in the restrooms, as you can note, this is the steps behind, the walls on the outside, And some of these, the attempt was made to remove over the weekend, but more of it was done today by pressure washing, and some areas might end up having to require painting. That is all we have to report on for the time being. If the commissioners have any questions, I will gladly try to address them.
Questions?
I have one comment. I thank you for including that in the report. I know it just happened. It's very disheartening. So many families rely on these parks. To see that behavior and that action done to these spaces that are much needed is just disheartening. I wonder if it makes sense, just a thought, if there's signage that we can put up that says if you see something suspicious, call. Just a thought. I mean, it probably happened in the middle of the night, but when you see people who might be looking like they're holding, cans, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just not the right way to do it. It just seems to me that if there's some kind of sense of public responsibility of keeping your eyes peeled for vandalism, it's worth mentioning. I don't know. Again, it's not really a fully thought out comment, but it's just disheartening to see that.
And Commissioner Patel, your point is well taken. We do have a lot of the community members at these facilities. A lot of our parks have individuals, neighbors that care for the parks a lot, and they do call. They call police, they call us to notify us. And our goal has been within 24 hours to remove graffiti that is basically able to remove, that doesn't require any major painting or whatnot. That has been our goal, and the staff over the weekend that experienced a lot of this, the vandalism and the graffiti activity, have done a fairly well job of keeping up with the challenge. And of course, you clean it up the next day, you see the same thing again. It is disheartening, but unfortunately, it is part of having a park open to the public. And you're right, most of the activity does happen after park closure, where the law-abiding citizens are home, respectfully, they're not in the park because the park is closed, and individuals who have other mindset are in the park committing the vandalism.
Do the bathrooms get locked at night?
Commissioner Patel, yes, they do. The security company we've hired, given that the parks are open until 10, the challenge is making sure everything gets locked between 10 and 12. And I know we get the call sometime, my park wasn't locked until midnight. Well, there's 27 facilities that two security individuals have to go and lock, secure. So it does take a while to travel to the city. We do have the bus parks, which is a handful of parks, the Lower Shoal, Nibley, Duke Majin, and both Adobe's. Those are dust parks. We close them 1 hour after sunset. So at least those get out of the way early on. And then the security company will make their rounds, making sure people are behaving the way they should, and then securing them starting at 10 o'clock. Because we've also heard when the restaurants get secured before 10 o'clock, members of the public are not happy because they expect it to be open until 10. It is a very difficult and delicate balance that we have to keep. But yes, we have a security that secures all of our parks, all of our restrooms, and we've asked them for these specific ones, especially at Maple. As a matter of fact, today the supervisor sent a request to try and address Maple early on because it is a site that does experience more vandalism than some other sites. So we've asked them to move the closure for Maple Park sooner than later so we can avoid this in the future.
Thank you.
I just had one comment. I mean, so this all looks great, first of all, but as far as the reports, I don't know if we need the entire list of all of the work that you guys do. It just seems like it might be making more work for you than it is value to us. Like if there was some kind of summary or something, I don't know how the other commissioners feel about it, but thoughts?
I can address the question, Commissioner Eberle, as far as pulling the report, since we have the work management system, CityWorks, and we input all the data, the work orders within it, to pull the report for us, it doesn't take a lot of effort. You know, our guy Kevin McClang in the office, I could ask him within 5 minutes, he already has a report pulled. So from our perspective, it doesn't really take up a lot of time, and would be at commission's discretion. If they want to see the details, we'll provide it. And I know some of them don't make sense. It says mow and mow and mow because the same guy is doing different sides of mowing and mowing on a weekly basis. Some of that may not make sense to commission. We review it, our supervisors review it before they issue the work order. They sign off on it. We'd be happy to present them in any way you feel. Summarizing them might be a little more challenging because now you have to put the like for like task together versus pulling the entire report. But if that is the direction Commission wants to go, we can do that as well. Or we can omit the attachments and focus only on the front page that talks about the total numbers of work orders and the hours put in. We can do this any way Commission wishes.
Do you have thoughts on that?
I was going to say, I kind of like getting the report and seeing the detail, but that's just one commissioner's opinion.
I would say whatever's less work for you. I see Commissioner Everly's point, but if it's merely a cut and paste situation where you're having to keep a report for yourself like this, then I guess it makes sense why you do it in this way for us. And I do skim through it. I don't spend a lot of time on it each month, but I do skim through it.
With
and I appreciate your efforts. Yeah.
600 plus work orders, there's a lot to skim through, and some of them is not. And of course, some of them may not be as clear to you looking at it. What does that really mean? But from our perspective, horticultural terms and what we've done, it makes sense to us. So we will continue to manage it the same way on our end. As far as reporting goes, I'm pleased to present any way you want. And they're digital now, and Ms. Moreno sends it all digitally, and you don't even have to worry about having to print it. So just let us know. We'll present any way you wish. If no more questions, I will pass the baton to.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, I think there's one more report, am I right?
Yes, and that would be item 7D, Recreation and Community Services section, monthly activity report for February 2021.
Good afternoon, President Pro Tem Wilson, members of the Commission. My name is Seva Garabedian, Senior Community Services Supervisor, and I'm going to present the monthly activity report for our previous month, January and February, from our last Commission meeting to present. So let me share the screen here. And everybody's able to see at least the first page of the slide, correct? All right, so in moving on, we did have an update in our protocols and what's open and what's closed. So this is effective as of today. Basically, the changes from the last time we had our meeting is outdoor gatherings are now allowed. It's a limitation of 3 households, up to 15 people from those 3 households, including the person's own who's basically organizing the outdoor gathering. Moving on, picnic tables, pavilions, shelters are available on a first come, first served basis. We're still not taking any reservations to prevent large group gatherings from taking place, but they are open if somebody from the public is wanting to go to a park to have lunch or something along those lines, or if a family meets together and they just want to have a sit down, within the limitations of 3 households, 15 people, the picnic tables, shelters, pavilions are available. Tennis pickleball courts are now allowing for doubles play from outside the same household. Pacific Community Pool or pools in general are open again for lessons and rec swim within their limitations. And our department will be offering lessons as early as April. And that's only because we've scheduled a pool for maintenance, an annual maintenance where we lower the water level, do our pressure washing, acid washing, clean the deck, and then refill it and bring our chemical balances back to normal and our, I want to say dilutable solvents, if I'm not mistaken. And then skate parks, let me go back real quick, sorry. Vertigo Skate Park has been closed for some time, since I want to say end of December through now, and Vertigo Skate Park reopened as of today, about an hour 40 ago at 3 o'clock. In our report for our section activity report, we had talked about COVID-19 testing sites. So there was 3 different entities that approached the city and asked for park space to provide a COVID testing site to the public. Of those three entities, one entity before even opening its doors ended up canceling its permit because of lack of electrical outlets for rapid tests. Another entity at Pacific Park or along Kenilworth asked due to low turnout, canceled their permit. And then the third one that was operating in the parking lot near Vertigo Skate Park, after operating for a couple of days, ultimately said there was not enough people registering, so they shut down as well. So the permitted sites we did offer, they basically ended up canceling on their own. Moving forward to Winter Day Camp, our Winter Day Camp continues. And here I'd like to share some stats. As of February 8, we have 815 duplicated participants in the Ed Camp program. That's the 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. program, which is a decrease from fall, about 23 duplicated participant decrease. And the program right now is at 52% capacity. The after school portion of the program, where in the fall it was for a fee, in starting winter and moving on into spring, it is at no charge. We did see an increase of about 26 duplicated enrollments. That portion of the program is at 632 total duplicated participants and is at 41% capacity. And the pictures you see here on the slide is our Ed Camp program, our children, our participants, our students in our Ed Camp program preparing Valentine's Day cards for our senior meals participants. So whenever we have an opportunity to do some intergenerational programming, we look for those avenues and implement within our programs. So here we have our Ed Campers preparing some generic Valentine's Day cards. Our staff attached those Valentine's Day cards to some chocolate covered roses and turned around and gave those Valentines to our homebound seniors and our seniors picking up lunch every day at one of our nutritional meal sites, whether it's Spar Heights or the Adult Recreation Center. Registration for spring camp began on February 16 last Tuesday. For Glendale residents, non-residents, or general registration began on Thursday, February 18. And we plan to continue to operate those programs through the end of the school year, through June 11, 2021, only taking into consideration that although schools may return in some sort of fashion back to in-person or on campus, it's yet to be determined what model they will take and implement. And we know that we have parents have the option of saying, no, we want to keep our children at home. And even if that's the case, then they still need to have a place for childcare. So we plan on remaining flexible and operating the program, accommodating kids that have school, let's say on Monday, Tuesday, and they're remote learning from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the week, or even some students at different schools, private schools, or other school districts who might have remote learning the first part of the day and have to be in person the second part, or vice versa. They go to school the first part of the day and go remote in the afternoon. So no matter what situation it is, we are planning on operating the program and making accommodations to those who register as best we can. Moving on, we continue to operate our virtual programs, whether it's our senior virtual programs, our therapeutic rec, youth and family services, trails and open space. We keep updating our website and providing all those offerings to the community to our Glendale Parks at Home website. And Trails and Open Space continues to prepare little documentary series or informational series and posting it on YouTube. The next one that is going to be released will be tomorrow. It's called Nature Mythbusters, and it's a campfire program with our Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation. But needless to say, in-person Trails and Open Space activities are still currently shut down. Our seniors were able to play bingo for the first time in a couple of months virtually. We partnered with Rico Lakeside and Associates, and through their system, we were able to provide some bingo cards to our seniors, or used our bingo machine, and those who won were sent a prize home through Regal Lakeside, and we'd like to thank them for sponsoring that event. They had it once in January, once in February. Our therapeutic recreation program continues every other week, whether it's Club Maple or Get Fit, and we're still partnering with Adventist Health Foundation to provide healthy and nutrition eating presentations during each one of those meetings. Youth and Family Services continue to provide their weekly teen night out presentations. And during the month of January, we covered Internet Safety for Teens, Glendale Library Arts and Culture for Teens, Harms of Drugs on Teens, and to name a few. And it was very encouraging to see Harms of Drugs on Teens had a lot of participants. That's the picture on the lower right-hand side, a lot of interest. And then Staying Active at Home is for our virtual STAR meetings. Our STAR program continues to operate, and we all have been hearing in the news, it's time for kids to go back. Their mental health has been affected and so forth. And our staff found it timely to provide some sort of a healthy mental and wellness tips and tricks for our students in our STAR program so they could continue to persevere until they could return in person. Next, I'd like to talk about MPODs at the Civic. We talked about it early in the commission meeting. As you all know, we offered COVID vaccines at the Civic Auditorium this past Saturday, Sunday, and today. So February 2021 and February 2021 and 22. On February 20th, we had 300 vaccines administered through the agency. Yesterday, we had 336 vaccines administered through the company that we're partnering with, same agency. And as of 2:46 this afternoon, they had administered 150 vaccines. Staff has been observing the operation daily throughout the weekend and writing notes, providing feedback if something needs to be taken care of immediately. And after today's event, we plan on scheduling a meeting with Tri-State Clinics, our partner agency, to debrief and then have a discussion and see what we could do to smooth out the process and make it available in the coming weeks, assuming vaccines are available. Here's some pictures from today during the event. Here you can see the registration table, the vaccination sections, and the post-vaccination 15-minute monitoring windows area that we had set up. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is our senior services unit has been working with various providers in trying to get our seniors in the Glendale community vaccinated as well. We've scheduled an event for next Tuesday for invitation only for our seniors 65 and older. And our city staff is currently making phone calls to the seniors that are on our recreations list and our home delivered and nutritional meals program list to see if they would like a vaccine and we could schedule them for an appointment. There's only a limited amount of spaces that we could accommodate up to 150 vaccinations for next Tuesday, which is why we're keeping it very closed and we're trying to offer it to our program participants first. And in the event we can't fill with our program participants, we're going to look to our nonprofit partners that we work with through our CDBG program and maybe possibly offer some vaccines via our nonprofits. But the time location I'm not specifying so that we don't get people to knocking on our doors that don't have an appointment. We want to keep this 65 and older. We want to keep this for our Glendale residents ages 65 and older. That's pretty much the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to share or answer, whatever the case may be.
No questions, but thank you for going the extra mile to reach out to the seniors to help them get registered for vaccinations and everything else.
I do have one question. I noticed, first off, I just want to say I just love hearing this report. Thank you for sharing all of what you shared, especially the MPODs that happened this past weekend and today. I have a question about, there was mention, staff is working with Public Works, Dial-A-Ride Transportation to discuss the possibility of coordinating pickup drop-off services at our 4 community centers to get the seniors to and from the vaccine site. Is that something that worked out this time, or is it something that you might look into next time? I had some people reach out to me and who were transportation challenged, but I didn't really have any other solutions for them at the time because there was nothing on the flyer that talked about transportation at all.
So President Pro Tem Wilson, Commissioner Patel, with the vaccination that we offered over the weekend, that was basically first come, first serve, whoever's available. It's basically sign up, register, handle it on your own type of a thing. It was very dependent on the person who was interested. With the vaccine that we're offering for our seniors in the coming week, we do plan on coordinating with Dial-A-Ride. So in the event we do have a senior that is homebound that relies on Dial-A-Ride typically for transportation services, we do plan on coordinating with Dial-A-Ride to do the pickup and after the vaccination, drop off back at home type of situation. So that's within our capacity. Given the short amount of time frame that we had for this weekend, and we're talking 900 vaccinations, it really wasn't something we could prep for. But with the event taking place next week with 150 vaccinations, we're confident that if we need to arrange for transportation for our homebound seniors, we could do so and get them in and out in a better way. One thing that we learned, for example, from what we saw this weekend is those who are 65 and older, and I want to emphasize, it doesn't matter whether they're 65 or 90 or 102, chances are they're probably not going to be able to wait in line, stand and wait in line. So one thing that I've pushed our senior services staff during our site walkthrough is trying to address an area where seniors could sit and wait for their turn as opposed to having somebody wait in line for them. So if you've ever driven by the Adult Recreation Center or some of our food bank sites, you'll notice that people will start lining objects along where they typically wait in line. And that's their, marker for this is my spot and this is my spot. So to kind of prevent that, we're trying to see how we could accommodate them where they could sit, whether it's indoor or outdoor or whatever the case may be, in some sort of fashion so that, it's easier for them through the entire process, no matter how short or long it is. We want to be mindful and cognizant of their issues and their need for restroom access, seating, comfort, and all of that.
Wonderful. I'll just make one comment. The older folks may be more vehicle challenged, and I know it's so hard to coordinate when you don't know when you're going to get the doses in, and they come in last minute. So I don't really know what the answers are, but if there is an MPOD in the future, if there's some information, a phone number people can call, because the phone number that was on the flyer for the clinic, it was just an answering service. And so the woman said, well, there won't be anybody available to answer any questions until Monday. So that phone number wasn't of your, what was it, State Medical? Yeah, they were not available for any questions. And so maybe there's a phone number or something that people can call in the future where someone can actually answer questions that's listed on the flyer, and that might address something like Dial-A-Ride or some kind of transportation that these older individuals might be able to get or find.
That's a great point, President Pro Tem Wilson, Commissioner Patel. That's a great point. We'll add that in our debrief with Tri-State and our other departments where there's a live person on the other end of the phone that they could assist.
Well, there was a live person.
Yeah.
She just said, I can't answer any questions. I'm just the answering service.
Yeah.
Sorry. All I can do is take your name and number for Monday. So, and then I asked her if there's anyone that I might be able to transfer to or another department. She said, no, everyone's gone for the weekend. So.
President Pro Tem Wilson and Commissioner Patel, just to add to what Sevag already said and what Mr. Bulanikin also said initially, the efforts that we did for this weekend was essentially the trial run with Tri-State Clinics, because our goal in Glendale is to be able to do this long term. And so we were evaluating capacity with the clinic to see what they were able to do, trying to get them in right away, again, having found out on Thursday, trying to make this available for the weekend, we really didn't have too much time to be involved directly. And the clinic also had said that they have the capacity to handle it all. So this weekend, as Sebag mentioned, we were evaluating and kind of working side by side to look for those opportunities for improvement and what we could do better in the long run. And so we have a meeting scheduled hopefully for tomorrow where we will debrief and figure out how do we do this long term. The county is also working with us, and so the county has also mentioned that if Glendale is interested in doing this long term, that they will partner with us to make sure that it's efficient and be able to provide the vaccines to the clinic to be able to do this long term. So this was sort of our trial run to see how it would work, and also provide the opportunity for the clinic to use the vaccines that they already had on hand. But our goal is to work out a long-term plan. And in that plan, again, depending on if there's still seniors within Glendale that need assistance, because at some point all the seniors who are interested will have been vaccinated, and so we'll move on to the next tier. But if there are still seniors that are remaining that need assistance, we will try to see if we could coordinate with Dial-A-Ride to make them available for those who may register for the civic location and not just the curative that will be at the adult recreation specific for seniors. So I think I want to thank our staff, Seva, Gabrielle, and Maggie Kavarian, for the teamwork that they've put together and working with the other departments, with fire and police as well. But putting in the legwork and working all weekend to make sure, with Gabrielle, thank you, making sure that things are going smoothly and that the hiccups are taken care of. So we thank everyone for their patience as we try to, evaluate. As I said, this was our first trial run in Glendale, and so we're definitely going to be improving the things that didn't work well, and making sure that we either ask the clinic to make somebody available to answer the questions, providing the answers to the questions that they could potentially be asked if it's not our staff answering the calls, and just making sure that the community has the answers they're looking for when it's a weekend and we are not there. So staff was working. It's just that they were working on site and not available to answer the questions because the clinic was supposed to be taking those questions. So we definitely do want to assure you that we will be working out a long-term plan that will hopefully include some of the Dial-A-Ride as well, incorporating that into the civic site and with helping the seniors if Dial-A-Ride is available, of course.
I just want to make it super clear that obviously this is just a little note, a side note. I just really applaud all your efforts to pull this off in such a last minute fashion. And I know there's no way to do it other than a last minute fashion, given how the distribution is working out right now. But that being said, thanks for taking my note. And I'm excited to hear about future MPUDs that get set up. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your work, all of you.
We welcome it. We welcome all the feedback because oftentimes we don't see what the community sees. So we love to hear feedback from the community. So we thank you for bringing anything that you see and hear from either our residents or from your own personal experience. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Sardarbagian, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Close by saying thank you. I really appreciate all of the work that you guys do, and it's always such a well-informed and complete presentation. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And with that, I believe we're adjourned. Are we not?
Yes, that was the last item.
Okay. Thank you so much.